are a lot of factors that have gone into creating this opioid epidemic in America and around the world. And there are also a number of things we can do to treat this epidemic, to treat the people who are experiencing the problem firsthand, to help out with the families, and to rebuild our communities so that we're not this place with all these people who keep wanting to kill themselves all the time.
At a certain point, the question has to become less, what did we do wrong, and more, what do we do now?
And when the supply to legal pharmaceuticals is cut off, people who are now addicted turn to illegal drugs like heroin, which is why we have a responsibility to value treatment over law enforcement.
In November in 2016, the U.S. Surgeon General came out with extensive scientific evidence proving that opioid addiction is in fact a chronic illness. And this is because it changes the structure of your brain. It actually alters your brain. And in turn, this is why people who are addicted to opioids have a higher risk of chronic relapse.
Look at Portugal, where nobody goes to jail for possessing drugs, and the government's made a serious commitment to treating addiction as a health issue. Look at Switzerland, Germany, Netherlands, Denmark, England, where people who have been addicted to heroin for many years and repeatedly tried to quit and failed can get pharmaceutical heroin and helping services in medical clinics. And the results are in. Illegal drug abuse and disease and overdoses and crime and arrests all go down, health and well-being improve, taxpayers benefit, and many drug users even put their addictions behind them.
But we cannot just work to prevent future addicts. We're going to need to do more to help the millions that already exist, which means more investment in treatment programs, as well as increasing the availability of drugs like Naloxone, commonly used in a nasal spray to rescue people from overdoses. Because, as this firehouse makes clear, it is a tool that they use with depressing frequency.
So every single firefighter in the Reefer Fire Department knows how to use this, has been trained on this.
Yes.
And has used it.
Yes, from the chief down. We tend to have more overdoses than we do fires. So it's a piece of equipment that we can't go without now.
So 142 Americans die a day from the opioid crisis, right? So we need to do something about it. Currently, we have methadone and Suboxone, which are essentially low doses of opiates, meaning you take a low dose of it and it curbs the high or curbs the euphoric effects and also helps with some of the withdrawal symptoms. They're well studied, we know they work, and they're cost effective, they're cheap.
This is a mobile methadone van, one of several in Lisbon that cover the city, bringing treatment to heroin addicts where they live and work. Methadone is a commonly prescribed substitute for heroin. It eases withdrawal symptoms without causing the high.
Well, I feel okay. I feel okay. I do my life normally. I clean my house, I take care of my grandchildren, I work. I'm okay. I don't need to go to buy the drugs anymore.
It's a national epidemic. What we have to make sure is we got to start doing more education on this, early on to kids in school. We got to make sure that we're telling them the real hard and true facts about this so that people stay away from it. If somebody is on it, we got to make sure that we do our best, for these drugs, these maintenance drugs. You wouldn't take, insulin away from a diabetic, so I'm someone that believes Suboxone works for heroin addicts. Why wouldn't you let them take it like a diabetic takes insulin?
My mother was a smoker. She smoked her whole life. She was addicted to nicotine. When she turned 71, a little after that, she was diagnosed with lung cancer. No one came to me and said, don't treat her because she got what she deserved. We know the lung cancer was caused by the smoking. We know it was. But no one came to me and said, hey, listen, your mother was dumb. She started smoking when she was 16. Then after we told her it was bad for her, she kept doing it. So we're not going to give her chemotherapy. We're not going to give her radiation. We're not going to give her any of that stuff. You know why? Because she's getting what she deserves. No one said that. No one said that about someone who had cancer. Yet somehow, if it's heroin or cocaine or alcohol, we say, well, they decided they're getting what they deserved. I'm pro-life. And I think that if you're pro-life, That means you got to be pro-life for the whole life, not just for the 9 months they're in the womb. The 16-year-old teenage girl on the floor of the county lockup, addicted to heroin, I'm pro-life for her too. It can happen to anyone. And so we need to start treating people in this country, not jailing them. We need to give them the tools they need to recover, because every life is precious. Every life is an individual gift from God. And we have to stop judging and start giving them the tools they need to get better.
This is not the heroin of the 70s when I grew up, you know? There was a certain group that got stuck on that. Like I said, this heroin epidemic has transcended across all lines and all ages and all classes.
So the question becomes, what do we do about this shameful situation? The first step is to be honest about drug use. If we're honest, we can decrease the number of people who die from drugs dramatically. People will always use drugs. They always have used drugs. We must learn to live with this fact. We already take this approach with other potentially dangerous activities, such as sex, alcohol, even driving.
What we can do, we can simply set up free drug purity testing sites. They do this in Spain, they do this in the Netherlands, they do this in Switzerland. It's really simple. That way, when people understand what's in their drug, they can scale back their use or not use it. Free drug purity testings would tell you the complete composition of the drug that you have. So if you want to save lives, you can set that up easily. Doesn't cost that much money.
If President Trump declares this a national emergency, which I think he might in the next week, we're going to have federal funding to a lot of rural red America that voted for Trump. And with that's going to come treatments, whether it's methadone, Suboxone, potentially naltrexone, this new injection. But they also need mental health treatment. We need to make sure that we're dealing with the underlying cause. What is going on here?
When I treat somebody, the most successful way I can treat somebody is by helping them to lead a productive life, better relationships, getting back into work.
I believe science should be driving our drug policy and drug education, even if it makes you and me uncomfortable. My research shows that attractive alternatives can decrease drug use because meaningful employment is one of the most important attractive alternative reinforcers. Providing viable economic opportunities will go a long way in decreasing drug abuse.
We can be the generation that ends the opioid epidemic. We can do it.
As another president once said, yes, we can.